haven't been able to. Are you aware of the milk scandal in London hotels? Okay, I don't know what the fuck's that, what that's about, but maybe later. My point is, Koreans can't catch a break, dude. These guys used to live in a military dictatorship. Then the military dictatorship turned into, three chaebols in a trench coat. And now every single time they elect a new leader, they just get punished for doing corruption or being a fucking freak. And now here we are, the latest and greatest in that same saga. Korean goon.
I declare martial law to protect the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces, to eradicate the despicable pro-North Korean anti-state forces that are plundering the freedom and happiness of our people, and to protect the free constitutional order.
비상계엄을 선포합니다.
That's right. Yeah. South Korea, big problem with communism. Everybody knows how big the problem with communism is. Bro, understand that this is just like every fascist's rallying call. Every fascist rallying cry is like, oh, I'm here to, defeat the anti-democratic communist forces by doing martial law and killing a bunch of people. And like, if you know a little bit about Korean history, you know that that is exactly how they used to operate. And they would just like kill a shit ton, Jakarta method style. They would basically just kill a shit ton of people who were like trade unionists, feminists, anyone who was like anti-government in any meaningful fashion. They would just like murk them to be like, oh, you're a communist, you're a sympathizer. And America basically oversaw that and thought it was awesome. So really cool that South Korea's last president is trying to bring that back in a big way.
저는 이 비상계엄을 통해
Through this martial law, I will rebuild and protect the Free Republic of Korea, which is falling into the abyss of national ruin. To this end, I will definitely eradicate the anti-state forces who are the main culprit of the country's ruination and conduct vicious activities.
반드시 척결하겠습니다.
그래요? A Tuesday night in South Korea.
It's pretty funny because like it's just far right versus lib right, as far as I understand. It's not like there's any sort of real communism happening. And it's just a bullshit excuse. And it's basically just like, a consortium of like Korean women who are like, hey, maybe you shouldn't kill us. Like that would be nice. That's communism. And then a bunch of people who are like kind of neoliberal and will at least say that they want to like eliminate corruption or something. And then that's treated as communism in this perspective. But I guess the reality is like nobody thinks that there's real communism happening in South Korea. He's just using that because he thinks like that will be successful at getting dumbasses on board. Having said that, interestingly enough, the Korean trade union movements they're pretty strong. And Koreans also love to fucking party. They love to riot. They are very French in that regard. So I suspect that there will be some labor actions that come out of this. So we'll see. But Koreans love a good protest. And they definitely have like some. It's weird. They have some semblance of labor militancy, but also at the same time, like work-life standards are still dog shit. Interesting country overall. No, there already is. There you go. The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions will begin an indefinite general strike tomorrow, demanding an immediate resignation of President Yoon Suk Yeol. President Goon. I'm with him. I think we need more wife guys in power. Like, I think what he did for his wife. And a lot of y'all don't understand that because you're incels. He's not. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was illegal to love your wife and defend her from corruption charges because she has expensive taste. Sorry. My bitch bad. Okay? Sorry. Yeah.
The television channel shows a popular chat show. The mood is as soft as the furnishings. Until the president breaks into the evening schedule and spoils it with a national address that shocks the nation.
친애하는 국민 여러분.
President Yoon declares martial law, putting the military in charge. He blames pro-North Korean opposition parties who make up the majority in parliament and who've been blocking his legislation, including a budget.
Yeah. Yeah, his opposition parties are all North Korean in nature. Yeah. That's awesome. I do find it really interesting how bad things are getting. I will say. It is an interesting predicament. It almost feels like neoliberalism on overdrive for the past fucking 3-4 decades now, without any sort of serious contender, ideological, on the global stage. We have arrived at this capitalism supercharged moment where there's a lot of spearheaded, there's a lot of, movement in the direction of fascism. If you have been dominated by America, you're already relatively reactionary. You already have sometimes fundamentalist leadership. And if you're in the sphere of influence of America, you slowly but surely have revitalized your nascent fascist movements. Meanwhile, of course, America is doing that too. Fascist South Korea is preferable on the border of China to the U.S. empire? Yes. I mean, that's not a stretch. That's just history. What you're describing is literally history. That is what happened. Like, people think Korea was always this shining beacon, the Japan of the 90s. It wasn't. Shit sucked. It was a military dictatorship, and America kept it that way because it suited its political purposes in the region. That tikka masala was kind of ass, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, something to remember.
Parliament in this building should now be suspended. But it's also the only body that can overrule the president and his martial law by voting against him. Cue a midnight dash for Parliament. First, the army. Heavily armed soldiers enter the back doors of the building. Others take a more direct route. And some need a little extra help. But opposition leaders have also summoned lawmakers and supporters to the National Assembly. This party boss...
Bro, the Korean incel guy is such a fucking loser, by the way. Like, truly remarkable, truly shocking to me that he was so bad at doing a coup that, He couldn't even bring out the special military units fast enough. He ended up fucking it up so bad. Like, how do you fuck it up so bad? How do you do a coup where these like old ass motherfuckers can just jump over the barrier, and before you even protect the parliament, you allow these goddamn libtards to jump over the barrier and come in and vote against your coup? Like, it's fucked up. It makes no sense, dude. He got 100% disapproval rating. Like, that's crazy. Everybody was like, no, dog, your shit sucks. 190 votes. Motherfuckers climbed the barrier of the parliamentary wall so they could go in, and then their fucking nerd-ass staffers were literally pushing back the special forces and stopping them from entering the parliament to push out any of these people, to push out the people, and then they took it to a goddamn vote. And honestly, liberalism won, okay? Turns out you can vote away fascism, it seems, at least so far. If the coup is defeated because enough MPs climb the fences and manage to say the magic words, then I'm afraid we owe liberalism an apology. No, but might makes right, but the military was going along with it, and the law is just a piece of paper compared to the sacred power of a gun. Quorum achieved, asshole. Yeah. He also said, yo, my bad. My bad. We're actually going to pull out the fucking troops, so sorry. Anyway, we got a lot of crazy fucking footage. Like this lady who is a lawmaker who literally grabs the weapon. Like, this is like, dude, going for the service weapon of an officer type shit is kind of crazy. She's literally like, give me the gun, bitch. Guys, you misunderstand. Koreans don't have guns, so they don't know what it is. They just don't know what it is. That's what it is. That's the problem. That's why they don't understand it's deadly to do that. This kind of stuff is so sick. But I'm always worried that I'm going to hype up some lady, and then a week later, I'm going to find out that she's like a fucking psycho. You know what I mean? Half the time, whenever you see stuff like this, you'll be like, oh, look at this massive protest. And then you find out they think it's illegal to even have gay thoughts or something. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying this lady's like that, but it happens quite frequently in international politics. She's the descendant of an independence activist against Japanese imperialism and graduated from Elha Women's University that led the impeachment of the former President Park Geun-hye. Okay, well, I dig that the grandpa was an independence activist and Japan calls him a terrorist. She is on Guoryang. She's part of the Democratic Party, which is known to be very centrist, but labeled as extreme leftism. Yeah, Korean politics is awesome. That's why I'm laughing. Like, the fucking, the goddamn incel president is like, yo, these guys are doing North Korean style communism here. They want to do Jusha. And the Jusha is like child tax credits. The Jusha is like, hey, why don't we actually not make it a 70-hour work week. I think we should keep it at the reasonable 67 it was at, sir. And then he's like, oh, that's the most communist thing I've ever heard in my life. Also, I'm fucking up the numbers, but it's not even a joke. That's literally what happened. Like, I'm exaggerating on the numbers, but like, that's what the president literally did. So that's not even a joke. It's crazy. They'd be like, can the unions get weekends off? They're like, this is the most extreme leftist position we've ever heard in our lives. What the fuck are you saying? It's, you want Jusha style self-reliant North Korean communism. We will not allow it. I mean, this is bad as fuck, dude. She's a bad bitch for this. This is crazy. Also, what is up with the North Korean Special Forces, man? What is up with the North Korean Special Forces? I mean, as much as I respect them for having trigger discipline and not like unleashing hell upon this civilian population, half of them are fucking congresspersons or whatever. I said North Korea, my bad. Yeah, it's just wishful thinking. Sorry. Yeah, South Korean Special Forces are just like what's happening here? I've never seen people get pushed over so much with this much gear. It's kind of wild. That's crazy, though. That's crazy. She just went for it, dude. Respect. She went for the service weapon. I love that. I love that so much. That's Aura. Speaking of Aura, this is not the motherfucker that got stabbed in the neck, is it? Chat. Is this the guy who got stabbed on the neck like a week ago or some shit? Like it wasn't that long ago. This dude, not a week ago, but like he got stabbed in the neck like 2 months ago. Okay. And this motherfucker is already at it again. A year ago? God damn, time moves fast. I fucking thought it was like a couple months ago. Okay, whatever. He got stabbed in the neck a year ago, and he's back to his old ways, okay? Look what this man does here. It's awesome.
Live streamed himself being chauffeured to Parliament before clambering over the gate.
Yeah, he didn't just live stream himself getting chauffeured to the Parliament. He live streamed himself breaking into the Parliament and jumping over the gate.
Inside.
There is nothing fucking funnier than that, dude. I love that. That's so awesome. And guess which platform they couldn't do any of that on? Twitch.tv, because Twitch Korea is now gone. Imagine the content that would be on Twitch right now if Twitch Korea still remained, dude.
MPs and journalists scrambled to get to the chamber. Outside the gates, the scuffles continue in a cloud of tear gas and a flash of cameras. Here, a member of parliament is seen grabbing a soldier's gun, shouting, "Are you not ashamed?" Others remember the last time martial law was imposed in this country, before South Korea shook off military dictatorship to become one of the most prosperous and vibrant democracies in Asia. And what happens in South Korea has...
Bro, like, no disrespect. This is not like shitting on South Korea at all. I just don't think America has a vibrant democracy either. It is funny though when people are like, "Oh, you don't understand. South Korea, this vibrant democracy." Like the only reason why they're saying that is so they can compare it to North Korea, which is bad, right? Like who the fuck in the Western world has their shit in order at this point? I'm serious. I'm not even kidding about this. Like we have, bro, we have fascists everywhere, dude. Motherfuckers are saying France. Oh yeah, it's real vibrant over there. Remember when Macron was like, "I am not going to follow the democratic wishes and precedent set forth by, you know, and I'm just gonna refuse to fucking put anyone from the senior partner in the coalition that won in the previous election into a position of power." Yeah, Macron Loki did a centrist coup. Like, he did it already in France. Oh, sucks.
Repercussions well beyond its borders. A short missile's flight away from Seoul is North Korea, where dictator Kim Jong-un rules his nuclear-armed dystopia with a constant threat of invasion of the South, now in political turmoil. There to stop the North from trying it on are 29,000 US troops in one of the biggest American bases overseas. They've been here since 1953, the end of the Korean War. What will happen to them after President Trump takes office? One of the many questions with regional implications. Back to tonight, back to Parliament. As the standoff continues, the opposition parliamentarians who've made it into the building vote against the martial law. The result is 100.
I also don't understand it. It's like, why do we have so many troops and so much money that we're spending overseas that we have no control? Like, when this motherfucker pulls this shit off, one phone call, dude. Hey, President Goon, let me tell you something, okay? Stand the fuck down, bitch. Fuck you mean you're doing martial law? Stand down. I got 29,000 brave U.S. military Marines right there, ready to fucking ready to let it rip. What the fuck is this shit?
90 to 0. The remaining 110 MPs who belong to the President's People's Party did not show up to vote. Many of them, by the way, were also against the imposition of martial law. In the dead of night, the soldiers are filmed returning to barracks. If the coup is indeed over, it lasted 2 hours and 48 minutes, half an hour longer than Parasite, Korea's Oscar-winning film, and almost as
Oh, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. You can't be comparing it to Korean works, man. That's crazy. That's fucked up. Respect, though.
Surreal. Well, let's take you live to Seoul, the South Korean capital, where we're joined by John Nielsen Wright, who's head of the Japan and Korea's program at the Center for Geopolitics at Cambridge University. Welcome to the program, John Nielsen Wright. Is it all over as far as you can tell?
It's too early to say, I'd say. I mean, it's reassuring to have seen the National Assembly vote so decisively to overturn the president's order. But we've had no clarification about the role of the military. And
I knew that as soon as he said Cambridge, someone was going to be like, Cambridge, you might meet that guy tomorrow. It's like, no, dude, he's in Seoul, okay? I'm in London, chat. I will not be meeting the fucking head of the, I don't know, the Japan Korea Bureau of Cambridge or whatever the fuck his title is. He could come back. Yeah, I think he's got a lot going on over there. What time you meeting him? Fuck you, man.
And the president himself has been silent. The reassuring news is, of course, that the media continues to function. South Koreans are able to follow this story, but it is unquestionably a moment of, I think, acute tension. It should be noted that the leader of the president's party, the PPP, himself came out and said very decisively, this is unconstitutional. And there are demands for the president to resign or to be impeached and ultimately to be prosecuted.
I mean, you know the place well. Did this come out of the blue?
South Korean politics has always been very, very fractious, and it's got more fractious in recent years. And I think that's the clue to understanding why President Yoon has acted. I mean, he claimed that this is an attempt to...
That's amazing analysis from Cambridge's very own Korea guy. Oh, South Korean politics is always fractious. Yeah, that's what I said. Okay? I can say that because I'm a fucking idiot. You are an academic. You can't just be like, oh, it's very complicated. Yeah, that's the way I analyze it because I don't know anything because I'm a fucking idiot. Oh, it's very fractious.
To deal with a threat from North Korea and its alignment with these progressive politicians. But the evidence for that is pretty much non-existent. President Yoon was facing pressure from a National Assembly that was wielding its legitimate democratic muscle to call for the impeachment of prosecutors who had been asked to investigate allegations of corruption, insider trading surrounding the president's wife, the First Lady. They decided not to proceed, and that was, I think, the spark, if you like, for the opposition politicians to demand that those prosecutors be...
I feel like I'm going crazy, but like, low-key, our politicians are so much cooler at doing crimes. Like, maybe the standard is so fucked up because, like, America basically legalized bribery a long time ago. So then, like, you truly have to do something extraordinary to get in trouble. But when I think about, like, you know, the past couple of years of Democrats caught in these, like, crazy affairs, these crazy scandals, like, the only thing that comes to mind that's, like, kind of silly is Eric Adams. And he's the mayor of New York, right? What did Eric Adams do? He got, you know, a bunch of free flights so that he could let the Turkish consulate building get away with not passing a fire inspection or just like refuse to say something on our Armenian Genocide Recognition Day or whatever, right? But then you got the Bob Menendezes who are, you know, opening up halal meats markets through their Egyptian partners. And ensuring that this like one singular Egyptian American company has like a monopoly on halal meat distribution in the country, and he's getting paid in gold bars. And then then you got, you know, Henry Cuellar, another similar situation with like Azerbaijan. I guess my point is, and then you look at Korean corruption, and it's like, yeah, this dude's wife got like a nice fucking jacket. Okay. And then the prosecutors were like, you can't do that. It's illegal. Okay. And basically the president was like, how dare you do that to my wife? If you don't impeach these prosecutors, I am going to do martial law. And then did martial law because he was like, that's my sexy ass wife, dog. I'm a wife guy. You can't. Yo, if she that's my bitch. She's bad. Okay, she's a bad bitch. If she wants to have expensive clothes, she's gonna get expensive clothes. How dare you go after her? And it's like, man, what the fuck? Like, the offenses, it feels like, or what is considered inappropriate feels so strange to me always. It almost feels like Joe Biden violates American laws and international human rights. Okay? It almost feels like he does that regularly for Israel, but then lo and behold, God forbid, he fucking pardons his son. And then everybody gets mad. You know? Yeah, you got like a bunch of known pedophiles in power, but then this is the type of shit that people get frustrated about.
Be impeached. Delays.
Anyway, I'm just saying, I got much respect for the wife guy, President Goon. I always thought he was like a straight up incel. And it turns out he's not just a straight up incel. You know what I mean? President Goon also has a wife and he loves his wife.
Budget approval, all of which had left the president feeling, I think, politically uninfluential and therefore cornered. And he's responded with this huge overreaction. History, I think, will judge him very harshly. But for now, we are in this standoff. And tomorrow, I expect we will see more protests by the public. South Koreans vote with their feet. And you remember back in 2016, the so-called candlelit protests against then President Park Geun-hye. South Koreans take their democratic rights very, very seriously.
And talking of that, I mean, the last time martial law was imposed was, I gather, more than half a century ago. Since then, South Korea has had this incredible transition to democracy, but also to amazing prosperity. It's the 10th richest country in the world, apparently. Of course, it has its soft power, the film Parasite, all that incredible K-pop music. So why has he done something that belongs to the dustbin of history? Why go so?
I love this guy's understanding of the world, bro. Respect. Like, no, this is Orientalism, for the record. This right here is Orientalism to a T. Like, you just reduce the country, okay? And the dynamics. Like, I joke about politics a lot, but at least it comes from a place of, like, somewhat understanding how human beings operate. And recognizing that, this isn't like, this isn't just a country where, their GDP is so good. And they're making shit that my daughter watches, like K-pop. Why would he just throw that away? Yeah. The soft power of Parasite and K-pop. How could the president just throw that away? The answer is he's a wife guy. Anyway. Cool stuff. When are you recording with the Sidemen? Never. I will never record with them.
Well, I think, President Yoon is not a conventional politician by any means, as this action so clearly demonstrates. His career was in the law. Ironically, he was a special prosecutor appointed by the previous president, Moon Jae-in, to, if you like, clear up political corruption. The irony is, therefore, that he's now being charged with the very same type of offenses that he was.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Dismiss. I don't care about my fucking iPhone. Jesus Christ. Windows is like, oh, did you plug your iPhone into the computer? You have to restart it immediately. Actually, we're just going to do it anyway. I'm like, no, I don't want to restart it. They're like, no, you have to restart it. Please restart your computer. Please. I'm Windows. I'm Mr. Windows. Wouldn't it be nice if you restarted your computer?
Responsible for investigating him before. Special prosecutors, however, have often been seen as something of a law unto themselves. And that reflects, if you like, what I would describe as Yoon's almost authoritarian temperament, which has inclined him to take this, I think, hugely mistaken step in calling for martial law. In all of this, of course, other countries look on with, I think, a sense of anxiety, and it remains to be seen how he is going to dig himself out of this impossible position.
Indeed, and what the implications are for the rest of the region.
John
Nielsen Wright in Seoul tonight. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the program. Well, the Biden administration says it is watching the developments in South Korea with great concern and very closely indeed. Let's bring in our Washington correspondent, Siobhan Kennedy, who's at the State Department. Siobhan, what are they saying over there?
Well, I have just stepped outside of the press conference here at the State Department, and South Korea was the main line of questioning. The spokesperson there said that the US was watching what was happening, the events, with grave concern. He said that the hope and the expectation is that any political disputes will be resolved peacefully and within the rule of law. He gave no further details, but he did reiterate that all-important fact that the US was not given any notice about what was to happen in South Korea.
Damn, I can't believe that the president wasn't like, hey, by the way, I'm just going to do a coup.
Earlier. Let's hear a clip from him now.
We were not notified of President Yoon's announcement in advance. Ultimately, at the crux of this is not President Biden, President Yoon, these two specific governments. What this is about is the broader strategic relationship and the broader strategic partnership that we have with the Republic of Korea. And that alliance, as I said, is ironclad.
Well, this will no doubt be embarrassing for President Biden. He considers President Yoon to be a key strategic ally.
What remains? I'm being so for real right now. What is there left? What hasn't Biden fucked up? Like, bro, the Syrian civil war is back. Israel is still bombing Lebanon. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza. Russia is pummeling Ukraine. I just don't understand. Like, Biden was like, oh, we did Finland. For a guy who kept saying he was going to do so well on American foreign policy and how he was going to restore America's rightful place as the global hegemon. Bro, you really fucked the bag up, dude. All of our partners are on fire. I'm just waiting, dude. The Philippines are going to come out swinging with something crazy. We got what, like 40 more days left? I can't wait for the fucking Pinoy gang to come out and be like, nah, no, hold up. We still got some time.
I was asked earlier in Angola for any comment on what was going on. He said he didn't have any, but that he was being briefed on the situation. But make no mistake.
Yep. To answer the question on everyone's minds, no. Joe Biden does not have a doctorate in foreign affairs. He's just that fucking good.
What happens in South Korea really matters to the US. The two have a key strategic, economic and military ties. The Pentagon earlier confirming to us that it has 5 military bases in South Korea, housing some 28,500 troops. So these not just there, of course, to protect South Korea from any advances from the north, but also to ward against any...
I love British people. Pentagon. That's not how you say that, man. Fuck you mean Pentagon? That's a whole different name. Okay? British people be like Hezbollah. Hezbollah. That's what they say. It's like you put an R there. There's no R. Pentagon.
Threats from China in the region. So what is happening in South Korea really does matter to the people here in this building. And on that, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, we're told, is urgently seeking to speak to his counterparts today as soon as possible.
Siobhan, thanks very much indeed. Well, Dr. Sojin Lim is a reader in Asia-Pacific Studies at the University of Central Lancashire and an expert on both Koreas. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. It's a bit odd, isn't it, that the US, with almost 29,000 troops based in South Korea, providing these security guarantees, the close friendship, apparently, as we just heard from Siobhan, between both Presidents Biden and Yoon, that they had no idea that he...
They keep bringing up the 29,000 troops. They brought it up like 8 times.
He was going to do this.
Oh, I think no one would have had this the idea that he's going to do this, even in South Korea, and also the presidential office was very quiet, and the President Yoon didn't even inform the head of the National Assembly. So he, as the previous the interviewee mentioned, that himself from the background in law, but totally ignored the process and the procedure against the law. So this was really came out of blue, and that tells us that he was really in the place, the position that needed to find the radical route, and this was really miscalculated in a way.
Last I checked, it was English language, not American. Yeah. And we still dominate, y'all. It's crazy. Imagine inventing the language and then still fucking up how to speak it. Pentagon. Yeah, you should. The British should be thanking us every day of the fucking week for actually making this goddamn language understandable and decipherable. Pentagon. Pentagon. I can't talk shit about aluminium because that's how you're supposed to say it in the rest of the world. Aluminum doesn't make a lot of sense. That's the one thing where they're not wrong. Top of the hour ad break. Pentagon. There is no more top of the hour ad break. I quit that. I quit my old ways of running 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour. You can still subscribe though if you want. For $5 all for free with a Twitch Prime. Well, it's not even 5. I think it's like 7 now, but you can still subscribe to show support to the Hasanabi broadcast. As you all know, rain or shine, we grind. Doesn't matter if I'm on the other side of the planet. I'm in motherfucking Londonistan right now, and I'm still here, baby. Got off the plane after a 9-hour flight. Back to business. Business as usual. I'm crazy like that. It's $4.99 in the UK. It's £5, yeah, in a fucking UK, lads. Never Uber from Heathrow. Wait, what? I have before, but why not? I didn't this time.
What was this then? An extreme example of political impulsivity and frustration?
Yes, so actually, yes, he was frustrated in a way because of the recent scandal with his own wife, the first lady, and the top level of the politicians in South Korea. It has been a while that the population in South Korea gathered and then protested and then demanded impeachment already. And if we see the statements to the last night in South Korea, the articles, and it clearly shows that he was frustrated with the recent demand by the population and public, and also he was frustrated with the recent conflict between the government and the medical members in the society. So all this tells us that he really wanted to solve out the problem with this martial law, but obviously it doesn't look like it worked out well.
South Korea has a bit of a tradition of locking up its ex-presidents. Do you think that that's where he's going to end up now? In jail?
True.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, Mr. Parasite does know that at least, so that's good. I mean, yeah, this motherfucker's probably going to jail, right? I feel like you can't be a South Korean president and not go to jail. Like, it's low-key part of the job. If you run for higher office in South Korea, you have to do cheating scandals. And you have to do some corruption, and then they catch you, and then they throw you in jail for like 6 years. But then you're fine. But then you're fine. You can totally come back after that. You can still run a company. If you're sitting on a board, you can run a board and sit on it while you're in prison.
Said that's true. Actually, I was talking about with my colleagues about that. Now another president will end up in prison. So the only president who didn't end up in prison would be the previous president who negotiated with the previous government. So this is very unfortunate. But it looks like he has no choice, but then will be impeached and then will prison because obviously he violated the law.
So North Korea, of course, just on the other side of the demilitarized zone, is watching this very closely. We know that recently the North Koreans wanted to sever any sort of physical links with South Korea, which alarmed a lot of people that they were thinking of an invasion at some stage and not a unification. What are the repercussions of this for this very explosive peninsula?
So even though there was this conflict escalation,
the Western world's like, all of our enemies are laughing at us, man. Yo, why can't we figure this shit out? China laughing at us. Kim Jong-un laughing at us. They're farting on us, bro. They're out there farting on us. What the hell? The Western world is so funny, especially America, where it's like they've destroyed all of their enemies. Like all of their significant enemies they've destroyed. And this last 3-decade process has just been like running victory laps and letting capitalism thrive so much that it, inevitably heightens the contradictions and makes it untenable, unsustainable. That's it. Our final boss is ourselves. That's it. The amount of damage that we do to ourselves, none of our enemies could do to us.
And that was in narratives, and the Korea Peninsula has been there as a buffer zone between the power game between US and China. And North Korea, we actually didn't think that it will invade South Korea, but it will more try to negotiate with the US. And now having the President Trump as a new president in the United States, the North Korea wants to provocate more so that it can has the attention. And South Korea had to deal with it, but now the President Yoon expected that the President Trump will be very different from the Biden administration, and that also looked like worked as a.
I'm a one-stater, dude. I'm a one-stater always. We got too many fucking states. Time to smush them together. Put America, Canada, and Mexico into one big state. Okay? Former USSR territory, one big state. No more balkanization. I'm a reverse balkanizer. Yeah. Canada, United States of America, and Mexico make cum. C-U-M. Cum. And the same. No more North Korea, South Korea. No more North Dakota, South Dakota either. Okay? Just Korea. One Korea. Unified. Strong. I'm done. You leave that shit to me, that's what I would do. One state. No more Israel, Palestine, two-state solution. One state. Tighten it up. Okay? Enough. Enough back and forth. Enough fighting. No more fighting. You feel me? My goal is to tie these countries together slowly but surely until they're all just one big state, That's what I want. One world government. That's such a funny thing that Republicans get mad at, or like conspiracy theories get mad at. Like, what do you mean? You want one world government? It's like, bitch, you haven't left your neighborhood. Like, what do you mean? What difference does it make? Multiple world government, one world government. What difference does it make to you? You live in Alabama. You have never left your hometown. What, you think if they're like, there's a lot of options for you out there? You were going to fucking move. If America sucks, you're going to go to a different government. Is that what you're going to do? No. You can't even move to a different state. You think the cities are scary. The fuck difference does it make if there's a one world government or not? You're a fucking peon. Shut up. Oh, I can't believe it. You want to do one world government. You want to institute homosexual socialist order. It's like, yeah, dude, it's really going to change your life. There already is a one world government. It's called capitalism, and you seemingly think it's sweet. Shut the fuck up. You know? Lots of it is rooted in the Christian end times paranoia. I know, but like the end times are low-key kind of here, and these guys don't recognize it. What is this? Britain changed you, bruh? I'm just a little cuckoo right now. You know what I mean? Wait, what did Jank do? I'm a little bit like that. Because I'm a little delirious from a lack of sleep. I'm a little max left right now. I'm feeling maximum left, baby. What a day. I'm feeling max left.
That frustrated Yoon Suk-yeol because he may need to change his direction completely differently from what he has imposed at the moment.
Right. In one word, is South Korean democracy safe tonight, yes or no?
Oh, South Korean democracy. We are still developing, I think. Okay. And as a person who has lived outside of Korea, I think
that's fair of her to say. I think South Korea has a long way to go. And so does America, by the way. Don't let any dumb fucking Amerifat ever tell you that that is not the case. Okay? Americans love to think like, oh, dude, we got this shit locked down. Okay? Our shit is so sweet. Oh, we are a beacon. We're a champion of democracy. It's like, oh, yeah, dude? Oh, yeah? How about them abortion rights in like half the fucking country? Champion of democracy. We're a shining beacon of morality and democracy. No, man, our shit sucks, okay? So this isn't me just saying that about like South Korea and being like, oh, those guys over there, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't have democracy like us. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying we don't have that shit either, okay? Bernie says he's pro-annexing Canada. Trump has suggested Canada become the 51st state in our union. Does that mean, well, we already have a 51st state? Israel's like, whoa, chill. Chill. Israel's about to be like, haven't you forgot about little old me? I feel like there's someone you're forgetting about. Okay, Canada will be the 52nd state. Also, fuck it. Merge the Dakotas. Merge the Dakotas and the Carolinas, man. I'm so serious about this. The Carolinas will be united once again. No more neighbor on neighbor violence, dude. What's up with Virginia too? Why is there two of them? I don't even want one. How about no Virginia? Call us something different. And you got Kansas and Arkansas. Fuck it. That's one state too. That's right. I have a bold and radical agenda. Germany and Austria. Okay, chill. Someone else tried to do that, and he had a lot of bad ideas. Okay, we're not saying no. Those two can remain separate. Okay. How else will the Austrians say that they were uninvolved? Fuck it, throw Missouri in the pile too. Why the fuck does that exist? We don't even need one Dakota, and here we are with two Dakotas. Two whole Dakotas. That's crazy. That's crazy. Can we get rid of Indiana? Okay. All the Ohio and Iowa boys are chirping. This is some typical Midwestern nonsense right here. Oh, fuck it. Hey, now you're talking about merging states. How about we just nuke Indiana? Like, I'm sorry that you have like long-standing college football hatred, okay? You can't just sneak that in there. Anyway, does that mean we can adopt a healthcare system and guarantee healthcare to all, lower the cost of prescription drugs, and spend 50% less per capita on healthcare? I'm all for it. He said, let's annex Canada. As long as dude, that's a ride or die man right there. That's Max Left. That's when you want healthcare for all so bad that you're willing to annex Canada for it. Merge the Washingtons too. I feel like that would be logistically too difficult. Like, I get the energy. Like, why are there two Washingtons? Like, that gets real confusing for a lot of people, you know? But I feel like they're too far away from one another to be able to successfully merge them.
Is seeing the kind of catalytic moment, so that there will be a further development, and the population will realize that we can achieve that in a way that in this moment.
A work in progress now, but Sojin Lim, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Okay, let's bring you an update on our top news story tonight. South Korea's president says he will move to lift the martial law declaration he imposed just a few hours ago after Parliament voted against the measure. Yoon Suk-yeol says the martial law command forces have now withdrawn, and a cabinet meeting.
Pussy, bro, you ain't a real wife guy, okay? I take it back. This motherfucker's not a real one, dude. 2 hours, and immediately they were like, "No, stand down, sir. Stand down. Where is the decorum?" We were able to reach the perfect number of parliamentary votes to tell you that you must stand down. He was like, "Ugh, I guess." Like, why did you do this to begin with? What the fuck was he thinking? I actually don't understand what he was thinking. Like, if you were going to get owned by quorum, then you just never had your heart in it at all. Like, you had no investment. You had no investment in this. You cannot, like, I feel like he didn't even get his party on board. He didn't get the military on board. You know what I mean? He didn't get nobody on board. He was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this, like, on a whim. Wouldn't it be funny? He's like, wouldn't it be funny if I just did this? Just a light dictatorship. I guess the point is, the important lesson to learn here is, if your heart is not in it, you shouldn't go with it, you know? If you're going to be bold, you have to abide by the Liv Moss lifestyle, you know? You can't just half measure it. You can't be like, oh, just let's do a little bit. Let's do a little bit of a coup, like a baby coup. As a matter of fact, martial law is supposed to come after a failed coup. That's what you're supposed to do. Let me tell you, you're supposed to, like, if I'm the KCIA, the Korean CIA, okay? If I'm this guy, I'm going to the KCIA. And I'm doing this, like, you know, I'm finding like I don't know, like a trade unionist group or something. I'm infiltrating it, and then you know, I'm doing like a light terror attack, right? Like a self-inflicted wound, And then I'm using the panic and disorder caused by that to then implement martial law in order to defend the sanctity of the Korean institutions and the Korean democracy. You can't just fucking randomly be like, oh, you guys wanted to come after my wife. Well, let me tell you, you've upset the wrong wife guy today. It's martial law time. Like, you can't do that. You have to have like some kind of fucking false flag operation to justify martial law to centralize power like this. Really, really fucking dumb. Really dumb move from this guy. Well, these events caused the Korean proletariat to embrace Jusha and do revolutionary action to reunify under Supreme Leader Jong-un, even though the martial law has been lifted. Yeah, I doubt it.
Will be held as soon as possible.
President-elect Trump says there'd be...
All right. We're not done with the Korean story. Are you giving him tips? Yeah. So, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions will begin an indefinite general strike tomorrow, demanding his immediate resignation. So now they're going to punish him. The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions said, emergency Central Executive Committee meeting just ended. The KCTU will hold a Central Executive Committee press conference at 8 on December 4th. And beginning with this, will commence an indefinite general strike until Yoon Suk-yeol regime steps down. KCTU members will stop work in accordance with the general strike directive and carry out nationwide emergency strike. Like, you can't be disrupting Samsung, dude. You can't. You fucked up. President Goon, you fucked up. If I can't get my new Samsung super slim LED 4K Ultra HD TV in time for American Christmas shopping, it's over for you. They're going to hang this man. Members in the capital region shall gather at Seoul. I don't know how to say that word. Gongwamun Square at 9 on December 4th. Someone said, I hope Faker is fine. I think he's all right, man. They don't make South Korean dictators like they used to, man. Yeah, I know. By the way, I do want to tell you guys something very sincere. Skara is the first person I DM'd when I found out this was happening. And that's not even a joke. Okay? Immediately I was like, Skara, wake up. I DM'd him. I said, Skara, wake up. Do you know what's happening in Korea right now? I was worried for my man. Make no mistake. Okay. Offline TV flies to Japan. Shinzo Abe gets assassinated. Offline TV flies to Korea. President Goon decides to do a fucking martial law. Why the fuck? What is going on, dude? Is offline TV a State Department asset? What is happening? How come anywhere they go, there's always mass chaos and political disorder? I'm just saying, it's weird that it's happened twice now. Offline TV about to do a Philippines trip. Watch this space. Actually, I don't know if they are, but yeah, look. November 29th, state asset Lily Pichu enters the boundaries of the Korean state. Okay? You ain't slick. You ain't slick. She posts in Korea, 4:58 p.m., November 29th, 2024. December 3rd, 2024, a week later. A week later, the state assets have successfully activated President Goon to institute martial law. Don't let him go to China. I know. Terrifying stuff. Where's that thread? But yeah, he declared martial law. First declaration of martial law since 1979, which was followed by Guanlu uprising in the following year. President Yoon ordered a complete shutdown of the National Assembly, but he failed to do so. Opposition Democratic Party urgently summoned its members of the National Assembly. The speaker was headed to the National Assembly building. It was closed off by the police. They still went in. The ruling party also called for his representatives for an emergency caucus, and its leader criticizing the declaration of martial law as inappropriate. President Yoon Suk-yeol of South Korea declared martial law in the emergency briefing. Yoon said it was made to prevent the anti-state forces, specifically citing the opposition party and its followers as pro-North Korean leftist groups. Under the Constitution of the Republic of Korea, the president has the authority to declare martial law and prescribe its scope, rights, procedures, and duties of martial law commander through the Martial Law Act. First martial law was declared on October 21st, 1948. It was following the Yosu Sunshan incident. Since then, it has been misused as a means to seize and maintain power by dictatorial regimes. There were 12 emergency martial law declarations from 1948 to 1979, all under the dictatorship. Today, Yoon declared the country's 13th. According to the martial law decree, all political activities are strictly prohibited and media and publications will be controlled. Okay. However, the Korean population had a very different attitude about it. And they immediately took to the fucking streets. And they went to the parliament. First, all the opposition parties were able to sneak into the parliament with enough numbers to actually get the sufficient number of seats. Then they voted against it. They voted to stop the martial law. The National Assembly passed the resolution request to lift the martial law with a unanimous approval from all 190 registered members. Although the National Assembly passed the resolution demanding the lifting of martial law, the presidential office maintained its silence. They were restricting press access. When the National Assembly demands lifting the martial law with the approval of a majority of its attending members, the president must lift it immediately. However, the situation became problematic since the presidential office was silent. Democratic Party revealed military planned to arrest Assembly Speaker and party leaders under martial law, reviewing possible insurrection charges. But the martial law was lifted and President Yoon backed down. Now, what do you do after this? Do you say bygones be bygones? Do you just say, my bad? Do you just say, I'm a silly goof? I was just goofing. Chill. It's just memes, bro. In order to fully understand this, we have to go back to 720 AD. We have to go back to Neo-Confucianism, the Korean method of Confucianism that had a more rigorous approach to the hierarchical structure of Confucianism. And we have to talk about the Han River and how American forces, American Navy forced Korea into trade. Why does it come up every day now? Because it's very important. It's very important to understand. President Yoon announced that he will approve the lifting of martial law as soon as the cabinet meeting reaches a quorum. That means there's still one more procedural step. I think it's really funny that, like, there's this process focused. There's this like process focused approach. But yeah, if you want to understand, presidents of South Korea, 48 to 60, overthrown. 60 to 62, Young Bosan, overthrown. Park Chung-hee, assassinated, 1962 to 1979. Choi Kyu-ha, removed by military coup in the 80s. Chun Do-hwan, 81 to 88, sentenced to death after his presidency. It's fucking awesome. It's like, if you want to be president of Korea, you will get either killed or you will actually have to spend a decent amount of your life in prison. But there is something, like I said, very funny about like being so rules based and such a norms head that you're like, oh no, I tried to do a military coup, but they got me. They got me how? By getting in the room and voting. No. No. They did it. They did the thing. It feels stupid. Ro Tai-woo sentenced to 22 years in prison after his presidency. Imprisoned during the term of president number 3 as president, secured convictions against 2 of his predecessors. Imprisoned under president number 3 and sentenced to death under president number 5, later pardoned. Nobel Peace Prize laureate. They showed that if it was illegal, there would have been large amounts of resistance. It's not just legal positivism. There are materialist factors at play. No, I know. I know. He didn't also get his ducks in a row. You know what I mean? He didn't do the things that you're supposed to do before you institute a coup like this. There needs to be you need to make a case for it. You can't just fucking be like, I'm doing a coup because I'm a wife guy. Who amongst us hasn't done a coup at the behest of their wife and their expensive taste? You can't do that without securing support from at least the officer class of the military. You can't do that without like planning it with your party at least. You can't just like casually be like, oh man. Also, giveaway alert. The winner is Oliviami. Congratulations, you won the giveaway today. We're going to continue doing that as well. Roh Moo-hyun, impeached, later overturned by Constitutional Court, investigated for corruption after his term and committed suicide. Lee Myung-bak, 2008 to 2013, arrested for corruption after his presidency, sentenced to 15 years in prison. Park Geun-hye, impeached and arrested for corruption, sentenced to 24 years in prison. Except for my goat, Moon Jae-in. That's the one guy. That's the one guy that went in and went out. Okay? He's the G. He's the OG. Wait, there's another sweepstakes. For a chance to enter, type in the chat, ! Enter. You can get a gifted Hasanabi merch. God damn, people are going crazy. Oh. There's got to be a good video on Korean politics and how insane it is, right? But not from like a annoying liberal POV. I know we've tried to tackle Korean culture and like the